is September 5th, and it's been a little while since we were together. My last episode was July 20th, and a lot has happened since then, and I just can't wait to share it all with you. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you've been having a nice summer. I know if you live in New England, we felt like it was fall last week, and now we're back to having some warm weather and some breezy, humid weather, but I think we're going back to the cooler weather in a couple of days, and we're gonna get some rain tonight, which we really need. And so we've been having little tastes of fall mixed in with it's still summer, and it's still summer for a little while longer too. But for all of us knitters and crafters, and I know we love that first hint of fall, and we just can't wait to get into it all. But I still have some things to share with you that happened last week, or the last few weeks. A little update on my eye. As some of you know, I had a tear in my retina. I had emergency eye surgery. They inserted a gas bubble. I've had 2 follow-ups since the surgery. Both of them went well. I don't have to see my surgeon again until November. I feel good. I'm seeing well. Like probably most women or most people my age, I've got some floaters going on, but nothing like what was going on before. So that's all good news. Everyone in my family is doing well. Mom is feeling great. As a matter of fact, her garden club resumes its meetings next week, and she's excited about that. And I'm hoping she'll be coming out to the island soon. And we've had some great connects over her way too. And we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about my mom a little bit more in a little bit. And so it's been good. We've been using the patios that we had put into our yard. We have the patio in the backyard and the patio under the deck, and I showed you some footage from that last week, and we've had some beautiful fires, and we've eaten out there, and we've enjoyed some stargazing. And also during the day, if it's been too breezy and the wind's coming from the south, we're protected from all the woods behind us, so we've been able to enjoy our property, and that was all it was a good decision to do that, and we're really enjoying it. And I can see us enjoying that patio with that fire pit well into, even around Thanksgiving on Block Island. We can still have some nice weather to be outside with your big cozy cable sweater or your fisherman knit, and cozy up to the fire with a book with a blanket on or knit. So I'm looking forward to that. So not the biggest thing, but one of the big things that went on is my husband and I celebrated an anniversary. And our anniversary is in August, and for the last several years we've just stayed on the island. It's still high season on the island. And so this year we decided to do something new. So as most of you know, my husband and I are both from Rhode Island. My husband's from Providence, I'm from Newport. We've lived, in Portsmouth, Rhode Island. My husband and I lived in East Greenwich when we first got married, and then, traveled a bit. So Rhode Island, and especially Newport, plays into our dating years, our early married years. And my mom still lives on Aquidneck Island. My aunt, a lot of my family is still there. But we don't get there much in the summer because it's a tourist town there, it's a tourist town here, and to leave one to go to the next doesn't always appeal to us. However, for the last few years, we've had the luxury of having a high-speed ferry that runs from Newport to Rhode Island. So if you're from Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and you're not aware of this, it's a wonderful way to island hop. So we went off the morning of our anniversary, took that beautiful 1-hour high-speed ferry ride from Block Island into the Atlantic and then into Newport Harbor. Newport Harbor is spectacular. We go past, the backside of the, Castle Hill, and the backside of Fort Adams, and then the backs of some of the beautiful stone mansions that have been converted into condos, and the yachts, the super yachts. The super yachts are in, Newport in the summer. We saw 160-foot 3-masted beautiful sailboats and mega yachts. But then as you get closer into the harbor, you start going past the beautiful Herreshoff sailboats and the yawls and the ketches and the wooden schooners and sloops, and just the beautiful history of Newport sailing is so evident when you go into that harbor. And then the ferry pulls right into Parati Park, which is right downtown Newport. And we had our little, carry-on luggage that we just rolled over to the hotel, checked in, walked, had lunch, Had a lovely dinner at a restaurant that goes way back in our history called the Clark Cookhouse. It's an historical building, lots of history in Newport. I've mentioned that to you before in a previous episode. So, and then the next day we got up early and we just walked through the historical points section, looked at all the beautiful colonial houses from the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, the beautiful doors with all the pediments, and then up onto Washington Square, down Spring Street, another street just lined with beautiful colonial homes that are been preserved by the Preservation Society, down by the water, down on the docks. And one of the highlights of our anniversary is we went to see a dueling piano show. And if you haven't done that, and I think they're pretty popular now, especially in the cities. We were lucky to see two very talented women, singers and piano players, and it's basically by request. So they have two big fish bowls on their pianos. We paid for the tickets in advance, so we had nice seating. You can have a cocktail, and then the pianists start going through the requests. Of course, you're tipping them, and they size up the crowd. They look at the age group, see what's going on, and they really entertain and have you singing along, and you can get up and dance if you want. But it was just a really beautiful night. Nice strolling back to the hotel, and that gorgeous ferry ride back to Newport. So speaking of our anniversary, I wanted to talk a little bit about another love I have, and a love that goes way back, probably right around the same time I was learning to knit. Because our family, my mother, my brother, and my dad and I, we used to take a lot of road trips. So we might go camping in New Hampshire, or we may go up to the lakes, Lake Champlain in New York, or up to Canada. And I always, like now, needed something to do if I was sitting. I was lucky I could read in the car, but my mother would always get me a little project. And for instance, one year, she bought me a little needlepoint kit that had my initial on it, the D on it, and some flowers. And she taught me how to needlepoint. And same thing with cross stitching. I always had a little project that I could take in the car or to the beach. I think I've never been able to easily just sit. I have a pretty active nervous system, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I know some of you will get what I'm about to say now. I kind of vibrate a little bit. My leg is usually going, or my hands like to be going. And so that was a good way to keep me busy and patient and comfortable, maybe on a long road trip or on a vacation. So that love has always been with me. And for our wedding, I wanted something that would commemorate the wedding that I did by hand. And at the time, you could buy a kit for the U.S. postal stamps. And I don't know if it was all the stamps, but certainly the year I got married, this was the stamp. And it says love, and you might notice that the U.S. stamp was 25 cents at the time. And this is a counted cross-stitch kit. And I had it matted and framed, and it hangs in our home. And it's a lovely reminder of that time in my life when I was slowly stitching this and keeping myself calm while we were planning the wedding, and focusing on love and focusing on the stamp that was going to go on our wedding invitations. So that hangs in our home. Also, as part of our wedding, my sister-in-law Mickey, who is another great needle point, counted cross stitch, embroidery without the counting, without the printed fabric, knitter, crocheter, cook, multi-talented, gave us our invitation memorialized in a beautiful a beautiful cross stitch frame. And I also am taking some photos of this, but this is all on linen, and not the linen that's been punctured with those holes. And it's just beautiful, and that is our wedding invitation. She had it matted and framed, and this hangs in our bedroom next to one of our photos, one of our wedding photos. So stitching has been in our life, in her life, in my life. And so I was thinking about that. Like I have this old Cruel book. I think my mother may have given this to me. And then I have this traditional needlepoint book. Now this is an interesting book because it also includes some William Morris prints, which are really popular right now. I notice when I go into Home Goods or Marshalls, I'm seeing William Morris fabrics and William Morris pillows, and so there's some William Morris. But here, this is like what I was talking about, the kit my mother gave me. It wasn't quite as extravagant as this, but it was like this. It had my initial, and then it had some flowers on it. So that kept me looking at my books. And then I have this other book. This is Calf Facet. This was given to given to me by a good friend, Sue Carden, in case you're watching. And again, here is Calf Facet, looking at the ordinary, or maybe extraordinary, like these beautiful plates, and then making needlepoint to sort of mimic what he's seeing. And so that ties into what I've been working on. So if you haven't watched A Friend to Knit With, her name is Leslie Friend. She's a great YouTuber. She started podcasting before I did. She was definitely an inspiration to me. Her mother was a knitter, her sisters are knitters. She's gone to Rhinebeck, she lives in Pittsburgh. She has a great aesthetic. She works in a clothing store, so she knows how to put it all together beautifully. And she, in her last several, maybe not the last episode, but the last several episodes, keeps referring to these needlepoint fish kits that she bought to hang in her son's bedrooms over their beds. I guess there are 2 beds in there, and her vision was either pillows or to hang them. I can't remember now if it was going to be pillows, but good size needlepoint projects of these beautiful fish. And how, you know, she'd rather knit. I kind of feel the same way. I would rather knit, but this time of year it's hard to have wool when it's humid, and I just haven't felt like having a big woolly project on my lap. So when I was watching those episodes, I started thinking about, well, I used to love to do needlework, and wouldn't I maybe enjoy doing a Elizabeth Bradley needlepoint kit? And that's what these 2 fish were. So I went online and I started looking at the Elizabeth Bradley coastal category. So she has the fish, obviously animals, flowers, small pieces, larger pieces, and our home is on an island. We can see the water from a distance. We're surrounded by beautiful ocean views. We vacation on islands. We're very attracted to the ocean, the sea, coastal views, shells, sea glass. So when I saw this kit, and there are several shell patterns that you could make several of these and group them together. I just wanted one. This is called the Mermaids Comb. And you can pick your background color. You could do this in white, a cream, I think a beige, but that dusty blue just fits in so beautifully with our decor in our home. So I want you to see how beautifully this came. You can see this is big, right? And this is the box that the project came in, with this sweet little handle. And in this box came a printed photo, what do I want to say, the actual pattern with the colors. Now, because the canvas is printed, and I'm showing you the canvas now, the canvas is printed, I only use the pattern when I can't tell what tone of brown it is. Now they do give you, she does give you on the bottom of the canvas, you can see all the colors. Also, I have a swatch card, but I'm up to here. I'm working up here. Also, it all came in this beautiful bag. The background color is separated so you don't get it confused in its own bag. Here's the beautiful swatch card, so it's easy to figure out what color am I on. And you got 2 separate needles, a threader, a little threader, and here's all the other yarn for the shell itself. It's 100% yarn. It's made in the UK. It is quality. It's almost like, I would say the yarn is like the thickness of maybe a DK. A heavy fingering or a light DK maybe. I've so enjoyed working on this kit. Now I will say, so when we go to buy X number of skeins to make a sweater, you know that's going to be a little costly, right? Especially if it's going to be in wool or if it's going to be in a blend and it's going to be long sleeves. I would say this project is in the same price category as making yourself probably a full sweater out of a quality yarn. Now I'm going to have this on my couch the rest of my life. It'll be a legacy piece to pass on if anybody wants it. to know that I made it by hand, sort of like my stamp, gives me so much joy. Something to do on these hot days because the canvas is cool. And I don't take it to the beach, but I will take it and work out on our patio because I can put part of it on the lounge chair and kind of sit with it. And every morning when I get up and have my coffee, instead of taking my knitting out because it's just too warm, I'll do a little section of this while I'm having my coffee, ground myself for the day. So I'm also going to include, and maybe as I've been talking, I can include some other pieces that were done by my aunt, my Auntie Jeannie, my father's sister. I'll get a closer picture of this. So this is a beautiful piece that she made, and it was two pieces, and after my aunt passed away, my uncle gave one side of it to me and one side to my cousin Catherine. And this is interesting because we didn't know we each had part of a pair up until recently when we really started talking about needlework and our aunt. And I have a couple of others. She did a welcome, which I think I'm showing you right now, which is a beautiful pineapple welcome lamb. And I have that just as you walk up the stairs into our hallway. And then she did a Christmas one, which I always put up at Christmas time. And I know I have another one in the house. I just can't remember exactly what it is. But so I've had my aunt's needlework with me, my own needlework, my sister-in-law Mickey, and I have some other pieces which I didn't drag out, but of a piece I did when we first started coming to Block Island. I sit on the front deck of the Surf Hotel and I did a piece of the lighthouse, one of the lighthouses, so I'll show you that. And when my mother and I went on a trip to London, I bought a small little piece of lilies at Liberty of London to remember that trip. So needlework, I guess, has really been a thread through my life. Knitting has taken up the last 25 years for sure, but before that, needlework was there, and now it's back in my life. So I just thought I would share that with you. I've decided to title this episode Fall Knitting Plans and Fun and Games. And I say fun and games because it's been a fun summer. It started, like after the eye. I'm going to go after the eye, post-eye, after 4th of July. With our niece and nephew coming out, they rent a house out here every summer. And they come out and we have fun. And we meet at the beach. And they came out. We had a nice evening on the patio. And our other niece came out. And so we played guitar. And we had a sing-along. And my nephew was learning the violin. So he played some violin for us. And they like to do puzzles, and they know I like to do puzzles, so they bought themselves a puzzle, and the last couple of years they've left it with me when they go home. And this year their puzzle was this beautiful map of Block Island. So that's the shape of Block Island. It kind of looks like a duck, right? And we're somewhere in here in the middle of the island. And so I had a ball. This is a 1,000-piece puzzle. I put that on the dining room table, and every morning, this is before the needlepoint kit showed up, but interesting, right? Are we looking at the same colors here a little bit? So fun. Also, my nephew, Brad, plays cribbage, and we try to get a cribbage game in whenever we're together. I'm fairly new. It's good for me with my dyslexia because you have to count, and I love playing cards, and so we thought we would play this time, but it just didn't happen. But my niece and nephew gave me this beautiful gift of a Block Island cribbage board. And may I bring your attention to the compass rose? And if you watched last episode, you know it was all about us finding our true north, the patios, the compass rose, and they knew that. And so they saw this board, they bought it in a beautiful gift shop on Block Island. It's made in the United States, beautiful wood. 3 people can actually play. And games, fun and games. And I'm showing you some photos because I have some other fun wooden games. I have a beautiful chess set, which is wood, and I have some smaller cribbage boards and those little, like it's a Sudoku, and I love games. I don't know if you do, but that's like, I think part of the creative mind, right? We like to puzzle, we like to figure things out. And so along with the puzzling and cribbage, my husband and I, as part of our early morning routine, we have our readings. We read some self-help, we read something from The Secret, Simple Abundance, and we started to add a daily crossword puzzle. And so we each have a book. We used to make copies, and we're like, why are we wasting the paper? So we each have a book, and this is the Monday through Friday New York Times. So the hard ones, you can, I think you can buy the Saturday, Sunday in a separate book. But so it starts off easy on Monday, and then by Friday you are seriously challenged. So this is something we do together. We kind of pick it up and we start, on our own, and then little by little we start to help each other, and when we finally get stumped, we'll look up the answer together. So fun and games. And I just think that with all that's going on in the world, every day, whether it be natural disaster, whether it be, what's going on in different countries, what's going on in politics, what's going on in healthcare, whatever's going on in the world, I think that it's really important, at least for me and my husband, for our mental health, that we keep it light, that we play with each other, that we play games together, that we do creative things, that we try to learn something new. And just a silly little thing like this little bee, we love having the bees in the yard, and we love that movie called what is it called? It's a spoof on Westminster Dog Show, and I can't think of the name of it, but I'll make sure I put it here. And there's a little scene where they're trying to find a toy for a dog, and he's called Buzzy Bee. And I found this little Buzzy Bee in the store, and I just had to get it. So this little Buzzy Bee is always showing up somewhere in the house. He's in a bowl, he's sitting in a chair. It's just a little fun thing. It's like the shelf on the elf, but with us, it's just our little Buzzy Bee. And so we really try to have fun. And after you make yourself, I say make yourself, but make yourself play a game or make yourself do something that maybe you wouldn't normally do. It gets easier and easier. And I think singing and playing guitar again, and singing with the family and having a sing-along and maybe playing some old songs, and is bringing a lot of joy to our life, and it's keeping us lighthearted. And I just wanted to share that with you too, because some of our readings in the morning are not that lighthearted. They're a little bit more serious. Like I told you about the book, The Secret. We read this every morning. We've read it several times. We learn something new every time we read it. Just a quick overview. It's just what you think is what you attract. And it helps you to reset so that you're thinking positive thoughts. If there's something you're trying to attract, that you get clear on it. And you try to reduce the number of negative thoughts, the worrisome thoughts, the complaining thoughts, and replace them with positive thoughts. So that's a serious thing. Also, my mom and I, when I was off last time, my mom and I went into a couple of little consignment shops, and I came across this book, which I had not heard about. It's the Best Loved Poems of Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, and these poems have been selected and introduced in this book by Caroline Kennedy. And so we've been reading a poem every morning. And what's been nice about this, I didn't study poetry. I mean, whatever I had to take, I suppose, in English in high school. And same thing with Dave. We didn't really study poetry. We know the ones that everybody knows probably. But by reading this book, and it's all different poets, so we had some fun rereading Paul Revere's Ride by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. And after reading that, wow, that, really made you feel what America went through to establish its democracy. But it's not just all, like there's some really fun, cute little ones, like The Little Turtle by Rachel Lindsay. There was a little turtle, he lived in a box. He swam in a puddle, he climbed on the rocks. He snapped at a mosquito, he snapped at a flea. He snapped at a minnow, and he snapped at me. He caught the mosquito, he caught the flea. He caught the minnow, but he didn't catch me. So there's sweet children poems in here. A lot of different authors, several Robert Frost. So that's what we've been adding to our morning routine. Get up, have our coffee. I do some needlepoint. We do our readings, have a little poetry, do a crossword puzzle. And then the next thing we do is we put together or we review the previous day's list. And we used to call it the to-do list, but now we call it the gentle to-do list. So just, I have my journal, and in my journal, I make a little section, and maybe I draw a flower, and I put in our little gentle to-dos. So today, I'm making a rub for the ribs, because we're going to have ribs tomorrow, because we have a football game. Take the cod out of the freezer. We're having fish tonight. just little things. Buy ferry tickets. We have to go off next week. But we call them our gentle to-dos. And I put them in a pretty color pen, and we cross them off in a different color, and that's part of our morning routine. Okay, what else did I want to share with you today? See, I haven't done a lot of knitting, right? Well, I put this back on the mannequin because I wanted to let you know that this designer, and her name is Rachael Isley, that'll be here, is being featured on Fruity Knitting's most recent podcast, most recent episode. So the beginning is if you watch Fruity Knitting, and if you don't, I would definitely watch this last one because you're going to get to see snippets of Madeline's wedding, the beautiful lace weight headpiece shawl that Andrea made for her daughter, some tatting work that Madeline put on the back of her dress. It's just beautiful. And so at the end, towards the end of that episode, she does the around the world, and she selects Rachael Isley. And so Rachael Isley isn't in studio with Andrea. She's in her own home. She's from the UK, and she is going to talk more and more about her inspiration, this collection, which was part of a collection, and how she's inspired by music. And so I brought this back out because, as you know, I finished this sleeve. The body is finished. I just have to I have to do the cuff, and I have to rip back a little bit and put this second sleeve on a bigger needle. And I took it back out because as soon as the humidity drops again, I'm going to finish this. I want to wear this fall. And I went back and I rewatched that interview last night, and I was like, what a creative, talented person, but also where her inspiration is coming from is just amazing. So that's Rachael Isley. That's on Fruity Knitting, her last episode. Okay, my friends, let's see. Okay, I did have something else I wanted to share with you. So after when my niece and nephew were here, and their little ones were here, Ava, I say little, they're not little anymore, Ava and Logan, we were sitting around the fire pit, and it got cool, and they wanted blankies, and one of Ava used one of my hand knitted blankets, just that big chunky one that I made on a large needle, and I used some Lion Brand recycled polyester, and she loved it, and they both loved it. So I said, okay, if someone were to make you some, throws, what color would you like? And so Ava picked pink, and Logan picked blue, and I've been able to work on these because they're acrylic, and so I have finished Ava's, and it's longer than it's wide, so she will easily be able to wrap this around her and snuggle in it, or she can fold it over and put it on the end of her bed. So it's long, and it's finished. And so I just started Logan's, and I did bring, here it is. And so Logan's is this gorgeous blue. He wanted a nice teal blue. So this yarn, if you're looking to make an acrylic, something you can throw in the wash, I think I want to say there's maybe 50 colors. I could be wrong. But this is painted box yarn, simply chunky. I got this on Webs, but it's Lovecraft. Webs and Lovecraft are together now. It's made in Turkey. It's 100% acrylic. This suggests you use a size 10 needle. I went up to a 11, and I felt like it could take a little bit, I could go bigger, especially for the drape I was looking for. So I made this on a 13, and you can see it's very drapey. I did a cast on of 200 stitches, and then I did a seed stitch for 4 rows, and then I kept 4 stitches seed stitch, garter, and ended with 4 stitches seed stitch. So the whole throw is, wrapped around seed stitch, and it's all garter stitch inside. And I was able to knit on this at night, watching TV or watching a podcast. Big needle, wasn't woolly, didn't make me itchy. It's going to be comfortable for the kids. They're going to be able to throw this in the wash, put it on their beds, on their chair, take it outside. So that's been fun. So I'm working on Logan's right now. Okay, also as part of our anniversary and thinking about, the day we got married, one of the key moments in planning our wedding and getting married and looking back now at our wedding pictures is that I wore my mother's wedding gown. And I'm showing you photos of my mother in her wedding gown. And then I'm going to show you photos of me in my mother's wedding gown. And when I was little, and as soon as I was like old enough to try clothes on, once a year it seemed my mom would pull the wedding gown on, I would try it on, we'd look in the mirror together and have a little fantasy about the day I got married. And that went on for many, many years, as long as I lived home, I would say. And so when Dave and I got engaged, there was no doubt in my mind that where I was going to get my wedding gown, I was going to wear my mother's wedding gown. And my mother got married after Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy got married. So, but right around that same time frame. So you'll see the neckline is very similar to Jackie's. It was a very popular design at the time. So for me to wear that wedding gown in the 80s, well past that period, was a treat for me because, as we all know, the 80s was big, at least in the United States. It was big hair, it was big poofs, and you'll see that my bridesmaid has some big poofs and big hair, but the gown that I wore had very little changes made to it. It had to be altered in the bust for me, some gussets put in, but basically that was the gown. So it was fitted in the top, the low neckline, and then of course it had the big skirt and a medium or small train, not a big train, and I loved that. I did not want a big train. And it had seed pearls on it, and when my mother wore it, of course the seed pearls matched the color of the pot de soie silk that the gown was made in. But it had aged and antiqued, so when you see it on me, those seed pearls turned like a lovely peachy color. And I was so grateful because that was my something old. My veil was from my sister-in-law who had married the year before, so that was something borrowed. And I had new shoes on, and of course my garter had blue on it, and I had a penny in my shoe, so I covered all the points. But being able to wear my mother's wedding gown, and my mother being able to see me in her wedding gown, that was a highlight of our